Playing it anyways. What's going on, everybody? Good evening, happy Monday, and welcome back to another episode of Dirty Degens. I'm your host, Josh, and tonight we've got some good things to go over. Not all good, but there is some huge implications hitting the market this week that we have covered on this channel a couple times now, but we're very close to it actually happening, and a lot more developments have actually happened since the last time we talked about it. So let's dive into what all that means, and I've got some updates on some meme coins as well, because why wouldn't I? So let's jump right in. There we go. So the big implication of the week that everybody knows about is the tariffs. Now, I'm going to show you something else that normally has a huge impact, and there's not really going to be much of an impact this week. The tariffs are stealing the show. Everybody's calling it Liberation Day. I'm coining it Judgment Day, because it is going to be Judgment Day for all the markets, whether we like it or not. It's already caused some wild swings. It's been quite tame recently as we've had more of this news come out. It's actually impacted the market less and less, but when it actually comes to it, it could have a big impact. Now, it could be a sell the news, buy the rumor event, and that would be best case scenario. But today it was announced that by Trump that the reciprocal tariffs are going to start with basically all countries instead of just a select few like he originally talked about. He originally teased us a bit and said that tariffs were going to be not to worry so much, and that they weren't going to be such a big deal and everything. Now it sounds like it's going to be just about everybody. So that could cause some issues. And now when we're talking about the Fed and everything, obviously that's going to contribute to inflation. They're going to spend months trying to say that it's transitory because that the tariffs will go away, and that tariffs don't and that inflation doesn't count in tariffs and things like that. So it's going to cause a lot of economic unrest for the next couple months, more than likely. And then today we also had Trump come out. Now, this is actually what Trump wants to see. So this isn't a bad thing. This is actually a very good thing. Trump states that more companies are pouring into the country at levels never seen before, with jobs and money to follow. That is the reason for the tariffs, to bring jobs and companies back on shore, back to America. Stop sending half of your car parts to Mexico. Bring it back to the United States. Now we're going to see inflation from the tariffs due to the tariff, but I guess maybe a potential oversight would be that this would cause inflation anyways, because it's much more expensive to have things produced in America, not necessarily even because of the material cost, but largely due to the labor cost. So again, this is going to bring on more inflation and impact the Fed overall. And I did see this earlier. I kind of wanted to share it because I thought this was pretty cool. If you scroll up, actually, all the tariffs disappear. We started out January 20th with just tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And if I scroll all the way down to it, we can see here, these are all the tariffs that are currently announced. So there's a lot. Some of them are dropped and some of them are delayed, but there's a lot in the coffers to potentially be enacted. And some of these are big too. Like if you look at this one that was enacted on Canada, you got blanket tariffs on basically everything except for auto, energy, steel, aluminum, and other USMCA goods. And then there's then on Mexico, USMCA goods are tariffed. So it's a very wide spread of things. And then on Wednesday, actually, we're going to have much more, I feel like, that are going to be announced. So yeah, and I actually had something else to pull up. I'll just grab it quick. It's also on Watcher Guru. That's where I know to find it quickly. Because this is the issue that we're going to see right here. China, Japan, and South Korea agree to jointly respond to U.S. tariffs. So this is going to become a trade war. It already is, and this is going to have an impact on markets. That's why we're seeing tech sell-offs absolutely crazy, right? So again, this will have a trickle-down impact. That's why we're only seeing Bitcoin with some strength. Alts continue to bleed because market uncertainty and just people Markets don't like uncertainty. It's that simple. When they're not sure what's going to happen, they bleed because they don't like that. That's why gold is rallying and everything else has been dumping. But today we actually did see a small recovery on the S&P. So, hey, that could be a good sign. But what we typically have every week that has a large impact on markets is economic reports and Fed speakers, not so much Fed speakers, but more the economic reports. And this month or this week, we actually don't really have much. It's all job data. So we've got no inflation data or anything like that this week. All we have is the tariff stuff. And I don't mean it like that's all we have. That's a lot because it's going to end up being a lot. Hopefully, though, we end up seeing a sell the rumor, buy the news type event, right? It seems like it's pretty priced in already. Even when we had this news earlier this morning, nothing happened as a result on the charts. So would love to see it stay that way. But there is a reason why I think a lot of this price suppression that we're seeing is happening to Bitcoin and crypto, because typically these things wouldn't impact Bitcoin and crypto nearly as much as they currently are. Now, you could argue that's largely due to the ETFs and the exchange traded products and things like that we're seeing all around the world, especially with institutions buying. But the thing is, institutions are not trading, they're buying and holding. And that's why we're currently seeing public companies with over $666,000 worth of Bitcoin that they're holding. They're not trading this throughout the week. You know how much accounting that is? They're not set up for that. They're buying and holding it as a reserve. So that's huge. And obviously you got strategy at top, but so there's a lot of companies, and there's also private companies that are accumulating. There's unions that are accumulating. This also does actually, this does include worldwide public companies because we got Metaplanet in here. But that also brings me, so this is to see strategies, basically accumulation over the years, right? So they own 3 out of 4 of every Bitcoin that's owned by public entities. And it's just skyrocketed. So they currently own over 75%, actually. They own 77%. And actually, yes, this should include today's purchase because Strategy just bought again today. And not only that, we also had Metaplanet announced that they're issuing $13.3 million in bonds so that they can buy more Bitcoin. So these guys are not slowing down. So that brings me to my point that what you're really seeing is price suppression, right? You have big entities that want to accumulate. So what do? They suppress the price. And you can do this by big shorts. You can do this by accumulating and selling spot, but buying through ETFs or buying OTC. There's many ways that people with a lot of money, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, can manipulate the market to their favor. And it's still relatively legal in crypto. But this also goes to show you that now you have the Trump family that's launching the American Bitcoin Corporation and partnering up with HUD 8. So everybody is getting their pieces in play before the market really takes off. That is what we're seeing. That's what's happening in the market. And I think that we're getting to the end of it because you're starting to see the drop really sustain. It's getting a little bit more cumulative. You've got UST dominance that's kind of peaking out at a trend line. There's a lot of things lining up that we could be due for a nice little relief bounce or a relief rally. How long it sustains in these markets is to be determined, but we're definitely due for a bounce. And that's why I knew that I had seen whispers about this a couple months ago, but I couldn't say anything for sure. I didn't know for sure. And I didn't know that this, what it was specifically, but this stuff takes time for them to do. Right. And that just goes to show you why they're going to suppress price. But there are still good things going on. You've got the US policy proposal that just came out, and it's encouraging basically the Treasury to issue $2 trillion in Bitcoin bonds, like somewhat like Metaplanet just did, to fund the strategic reserve. Now, this would put buying pressure on because there's certainly not that much Bitcoin on the exchanges to be bought like that, but it would also set a precedence for markets as a whole and for Bitcoin holders as a whole. So it's going to be huge. And Chester also mentions a strategic initial Bitcoin reserve from a key state could be a catalyst for a market recovery. I totally agree. And we've got several states that are getting very close to, I think there's 3 now that are in the final stage of approval. So that could be a big deal. They're not all massive. Some of them are like $5 or $10 million. But what it does is it sets the stage for more to do it. Some of them are too scared to approve it. They want to see if others are going to do it. They don't lead, they follow, right? So when that starts happening, I think it's going to be a waterfall effect. It's just going to keep trickling down and more will approve it, especially once they see it actually work. Imagine if a state buys, $10 million in Bitcoin, and in a couple months they're up 30-40%. Other states are going to be like, oh crap, we better FOMO in. That's why it's called FOMO. They don't want to miss out. They need to get their hands on some Bitcoin. So yeah, there's lots of good things going on. I totally agree that the state strategic reserve is going to be a catalyst, and we can actually pull that up. They've got this great map that they update all the time. There's actually these two, I believe. This is the one I like this one a little bit more because this shows where they're at. So the reds are your rejected. Obviously, there's no green that are passed yet. So we've got two that are currently in the final stages, but only one of them is a true strategic Bitcoin reserve. And hey, if Utah passes it, they're looking at using rainy day funds to purchase 14,360 Bitcoin. Nothing to shake a stick at. That's a whole lot of Bitcoin. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal. So as we see this go on and these states start approving it, hey, and Oklahoma's in there too. I know somebody in Oklahoma. But like I said, there are other things that are positive going on. And like I said, this is big, major financial institutions, and they're working in the background. They're setting the stage. They're doing what they can to basically get ahead before the market really starts to rip. And that's why we see JP Morgan and Citi working with Circle, who is owned by Coinbase, to file for an IPO. They want in on that. They see how much Coinbase has made. Coinbase is in like most major hedge funds portfolios and on their buy list. So they see how much money Circle is making, especially with the stablecoin legislation that's going through office. Not only that, you have Coinbase pushing for stablecoins to be able to give interest. So it's all building up to this. And that's why JP Morgan and Citi want a piece of that. I didn't even realize that Circle was going public in late April, but it makes sense. I won't be surprised when we see Tether either. So yeah, that's pretty big. And what's crazy though is now 2025, you have Larry Fink saying that Bitcoin could overtake the dollar as a world reserve currency. Now, this has been talked about for years, and a lot of people laughed at it. And then you have other presidents and government officials who have said that's a reason why they wouldn't support Bitcoin, is because it threatens the dollar. Trump said that in his first term, because he doesn't want anything that threatens the dollar. However, some things get so big, you just can't ignore them, right? And that's kind of where Bitcoin's at now. That's why BlackRock's now bullish on Bitcoin. That's why JP Morgan is now bullish on Bitcoin. These are two of the biggest Bitcoin haters in history. I didn't pull anything up for JP Morgan, but look, 2019, you have world's largest asset manager says, get ready to stomach complete loss in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because that's what they were talking about. BlackRock was talking about, if you get involved in Bitcoin and crypto, you will be at a complete loss. Fast forward, and they hold the largest Bitcoin ETF in the world. They're launching it in Europe, and they're saying it could overtake the dollar. So what does that tell you? When there's blood in the streets, we buy, because that's exactly what they're doing as well. They're setting themselves up for success, but telling you a different story. And that's why we need to keep paying attention, so that we don't get fudded out of the market. And you have to continue to believe, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to lose judgment, to lose faith for just enough time for them to come in. It's only been 2 or 3 months that we've had a little down action. This isn't even down action. We're still above 80K. It's not that bad. So that's exactly what they're trying to do. Bore you and fear you out so that they can take advantage of that time. So that's what I wanted to tell you about that. But what is a very good sign that we want to see, and this is good, is Binance has drawn in a record inflow of stable coins. Why would that happen? Why are we seeing stable coins enter the market? Why are we seeing billions of dollars stable coins printed at Circle and at Tether? It's because those people want to buy. They're getting ready to purchase. That's what they're wanting to do. There's no other reason to stay in stable coins. If you wanted to get out of crypto, or if you had no interest in getting into crypto, you wouldn't buy stable coins. You wouldn't send stable coins to an exchange. A whale wouldn't work with Tether to print $50 million in stable coins. That's not the reason why. They would transfer into fiat and they would exit crypto entirely. So now that we're seeing stable coins start to re-enter the exchanges, this is a very bullish sign. USDT dominance has been going up for the last several months. However, most of it has been on chain. So now we're seeing it actually start to enter market. And that is bullish. So, hey, like I said, Wednesday could very well be a sell the rumor, buy the news event. But that doesn't mean tomorrow and parts of Wednesday could be very ugly. I'm not saying that this is that on Wednesday we're going to pump to Valhalla and we're never looking back or anything like that. It's more of the fact of it could be the turning point for the market. It doesn't mean we have 15% pumps on Wednesday, but I definitely do think we're starting to see things get in a more positive light overall. And that's why it's, I'm telling you that 80K Bitcoin is a discount. And that's what I've been trying to say for months is that it is because 100K Bitcoin, I would be cautious. I'd be waiting for this drop. Every single bull market, we see 30 to 40% drops from the first peak. You have a first peak, you have a big drop, and then you have a higher high, right? Now, it doesn't always have to work that way, of course, but that's what we always see. And if it was still hovering around 100K, I'd be a little bit more cautious. But now we've had that big dump. We've had that 30+% dump. And that's why we're at, we wicked down to like what, 76. Now we're at 80, 82. And it's a comfortable spot to be in. And it's a great level to enter because right now, Bitcoin is trading with tech. And that's why you can see Bitcoin is closely following the stock market, right? Because it's trading with it. The ETF holders are trading with it. It's not the retail players that are buying ETFs. It's the market makers and the funds and everything like that that are buying the ETFs and they trade on it like they would a tech stock. But there's actually 4 good charts in here. This one I won't. This one I'll pass up. This is the hash rate. It just shows you that miners aren't giving up. They're not saying that the market's too overheated. They're wanting to continue to mine. They're not shutting things off. It's still profitable. That's what's important. If it's profitable for the miners, they keep going. Otherwise, they scale it down. But you have hash rate and difficulty continuing to go up at extreme pace. And then also, of course, the miner inflow and outflow is also very important because this goes back to the profitability factor. Are miners having to sell their Bitcoin in order to remain running, right? Operational. And we could see in early January, it was pretty bad. December, it was pretty bad. And then before we had our good run up leading into December, it was also pretty bad. But selling has increased a little bit at the end of March, but it's not too bad still. We're not seeing more Bitcoin sold than produced, whereas we were before. So this is a net positive overall. And then also, of course, I already mentioned the reserve, the exchange reserve is running completely dry. So sooner or later, as you have Sailor buying and all these different companies and everything like that accumulating Bitcoin, the exchanges are going to dry up, or OTC reserves are also going to dry up. They're both very low. So as that gets more and more dry, a supply shock is a real thing. Everybody screams it's fake. It's going to happen, especially when the OTC market dries up. OTC market numbers actually don't update that often, but I think in a couple days I can check again and we can see how much that has dropped, especially since Sailor bought over the course of last week. So that'd be great to see. They were very, very, very low. We were at like 2 months of runway if the numbers stayed the same. So I'm expecting it to see like maybe 5 weeks of runway or so, if the buying pace stays the same, of course. But yeah, I'll have that update hopefully this week. This chart just shows what I was talking about with USDT dominance, right? So here we are, this trend line. And of course, it could pump higher. Sure, why not? But we're seeing we are at a trend line that has been easily following. And this matters because this is of this bear market or of this bull market, this cycle. And it could potentially reject off here. So that's what we want to see. If we see USDT dominance drop off, that means that they're putting the money back into the market. And as a result, the market will rally, including Bitcoin. USDT dominance and Bitcoin are basically like the correlation between Bitcoin and DXY. They're inverse. If USD dominance is skyrocketing, Bitcoin's going to be dropping. But if dominance is falling, Bitcoin will be rising. It's just how it works. The money's entering the market. So it's that simple. There are some other things I wanted to talk about, though. Everybody was very hopeful that due to it being Doge, due to it being Elon Musk, that we would actually see some form of Dogecoin being used in the US government. I thought that was bizarre and outlandish, but I'm just here to burst everybody's bubble that is not happening. I don't see why it would. They have talked about using blockchain to keep track of payments and things like that, but they wouldn't use Doge to do that. So I don't really see where Doge would fit in here. If Elon's going to use Doge for anything, it would be for X payments or something like that. So it just doesn't make sense for the government to use Doge. It would be silly. Luckily, though, this didn't have a big impact on Doge. I think Doge fell like 1% off of it, and you could just say that's typical market volatility. However, some other things, some meme coin stuff. A Big Red did have a race today. Unfortunately, didn't win, but it's the race, horse's first race of the year. So also coming off of a surgery, place sixth, got to place at least fifth to win. So unfortunately, didn't win, but had a strong showing and was facing some quite good opponents as well. So hopefully in the future, we see it start to pick up a little bit more and get a bit better. But there are still some big races this week. I believe Wednesday and Saturday we'll have some big races, and those should be big ones. Those are two of Big Red stars, so I'm really looking forward to those ones. And hopefully they show up and improve it. Right, this will be their first actual money races of the year as well. But they did just race last week. I believe both of them did in qualifiers. So looking forward to that for sure. And then also I wanted to bring this up. The boy application period has been over for a few days now. Now it's into basically the approval process for all of those applicants. There was 155,000 of them. And let me tell you, when I got added into the boy club, the top 100 boy club, I thought I was going to end up with like 100 or 200 people. I was going to have to look over 300 maybe. I ended up with 870 people I have to go over. And like, this is like trying to vet somebody to have like VIP access to the White House or something. It's insane. Like, I'm sitting here going through their wallet history, through their Twitter history, who they follow, who follows them, their post history. Like, yeah, it's just insane. And I'm telling you, I'm able to approve 25 people out of these 870 some odd. You better really stand out because I'm not proving 25 people. It's just too obvious. The first like 30 I had were extremely obvious. They were AI. Even their bio, like their about me that they submitted was AI. Yeah, so I'm not into any of those. You had to actually think for yourself. I don't care if English isn't your native language. I'm translating the post. I'm doing whatever I have to in order to get the best judgment I possibly can. But if you're just trying to fake it till you make it, hopefully you don't make it by me. I'm trying not to let you anyways. Also, the last tournament that I was playing on Saturday with Medicaid is over. Somebody did win that one. I didn't. But there is a new tournament running. This one again is free to enter, and the prize pool again is $312. But you can enter this for free by going to the link that I'll drop in chat. And hey, have your chance at winning some Medicaid. It's pretty awesome. It's free to enter. I think right now, well, I can check. Right now, there's 231 people entered, so there's a lot of people in there trying to win, and the score is pretty dang high to win. So you've got to prove that you've got the skill to do it. This guy scored 2,900 points. He's going to take home 36% of the pot if the points stayed the same. So, hey, if you can win some Medicaid, why not? Go ahead, run it up. Let's see what you got. But it's about all I really had pulled up for tonight. The market itself, let's check it out. It's pretty much the same as it was this morning. We had a pretty nasty drop, but then it recovered a bit. So not too much impact here. Like I said, Doge is actually now up for the day. So I guess Doge people did understand that wasn't actually going to happen anyways. We do actually have some decent movers today. 5% on ton I saw. But other than that, nothing too crazy. Pepe randomly pumping 4%, but these are just random volatility. Yeah, I'm down to do some Q&A or and hang out for a few, let's do it. Yeah, market's super boring. Shanex says we got to get all this tariff crap behind us so that market can recover. People realize it's not as big of a deal as it actually as they feel like it is, and we can get back on with the bull market. That's what I'm looking forward to. TD for the win. I'm hoping Lachlan and Nymeria take home the W this week. I can feel it. I say that every week, but I can feel it. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I had planned on streaming Sunday, but I went to my niece's birthday and plans changed and whatever, and I got home too late to stream. So figured why not? I'll stream tonight. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And if you're over there watching on X, pop over to YouTube, throw up a like, subscribe to the channel. At some point here, I will end the streams on X and only stream on YouTube. But for now, I'm trying to get the word out a little bit. So it would help me a ton if you did that. Thanks, Mozzie. I love bucket hats. And I'm finally bringing them back out. I've got a ton of them. I think I have like 15 or 20. So I have a stupid hat collection, anyways. In general, I just have too many hats. But this one is my favorite bucket hat by far. See if anything crazy is going on right now. It's been pretty quiet the last half of the day here today. Not a whole lot's been going on. All the news was at the beginning of the day. So yeah, not seeing a whole lot going on still. Trump wants Elon to stay in the government as long as possible. That's going to make a lot of people angry. Hey, crazy uncle, how's it going? Welcome in. Welcome in. This has to be fake. I'm seeing something, but I wonder if this is real. I'm seeing something that Elon Musk has acquired Discord. That can't be true. I'm pretty sure Discord is owned by like a Chinese conglomerate. They wouldn't sell it to him. They collect so much data. Yeah, it looks like there's no evidence that that's true. So, fake news. That'd be crazy though. Mozzie asks, how many of the boy applications have I gone through so far? Yeah, I've got 178 applications to go through. I used some different methods to kind of like cut out a small number of them, and then I got through a bunch of them, and I think I've got like 300 to 400 left to go through. So yeah, and I didn't get access till this like late last night, I think it was. So I didn't even start on it till today. It's going to take a while. The cutoff is tomorrow night, so I'll be hard at work tonight and tomorrow to finish those up. That's why I had to stream a little bit earlier tonight so that I can get back to it before I fall asleep. What's funny is there's a lot of people that like that say things in it like oh, I hope I make a lot of money off of this, or I really need money really bad, or whatever. Like some of them I get it. They seem like they were being honest and genuine, like maybe they were going through a hard time or whatever. But the people that were very obviously just trying to grift off of the project and cheat and like be honest about it. I mean, I guess I give them some credit for being honest about it, but that's about it. Let's see. I think I'm going to run a Medicaid tournament soon too. So that'll be fun. Make sure I get everybody in here in it. Gotta see who has the most skill. But otherwise, guys, that looks like it is about me for tonight. Looks like things are kind of calming down over here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get back to your Monday evening. I do appreciate you all tuning in. I was planning on just putting out a video today, but I ended up doing a stream instead. Real quick, Mozzie asked, did guns do well on Binance last night? They launched today, didn't they? I believe they did. Let me pull them up. I actually was too focused on some other stuff today that I did not even check guns. Oof. So yeah, they launched. They had a decent little pump right away from, let's see, from about 27 mil. Oh wait, that's wrong number. 58 mil up to 68. So they pumped like 10 mil, but now they've fallen about 31%. So not looking great, man. I'm surprised that they did not postpone this launch, at least the token launch. Really surprised about that, but I guess we'll see what happens. They're already on Binance. They were at Binance on launch, or on Binance at launch. Hey, maybe they'll get on Coinbase or something too. They're the first Binance layer 3 or subnet. I call them a layer 3, but subnet, listed on Binance. And with guns being, well, with off the grid being as popular as it is, maybe we could see it on the first one on CoinMarketCap too. I don't think there's any subnets that are listed on Coinbase either. But let's just make sure that where's the contract address? Contract address isn't here. It's normally right here. Come on. But let's make sure that CoinMarketCap has the history and I'm not missing some massive run up that happened. I've got to find the contract address though. Maybe CoinGecko has it. Nobody has the. Wow, actually more volume on Gate.io than Binance. That's wild. Oh, well, that's with Try. But still, for the Gate.io pair to be the top pair, that's kind of crazy. What is crazy, though, is that they don't have the contract address listed. They've got to have it. They're going to make me work for it. Do they have the white paper listed here? Fine, I should be able to get it from the Explorer then. I need a transaction that actually used the token, though. This is ridiculous. It should not be this hard. Wrapped gun? Sure, that's fine then. No, that's not right. All right, well, I guess I'll have to figure out what the contract address is, but I'm assuming that the history is correct because they launched right away on Binance. So the CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap charts have to be correct. Typically, they're wrong when a project doesn't launch on a major exchange and you get its chart from something like Dex Screener, and then it hits a major exchange, and or it gets listed on Coinbase and CoinGecko, and then they'll actually start to bring in the history. So this is probably correct, though. It probably is just down nearly 30%. But appreciate you guys tuning in with me tonight. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Hope you had a fantastic Monday. There is going to be a good bit of volatility this week, but maybe it could be the mark of a bottom. Things are starting to look like they could turn around. But if you enjoyed the stream, smash up the likes, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Peace.